people now I've made it small.
Yeah, on your own terms.
Because, you know, and I had musically, I had three aspirations, goals I set out for myself in my early 20s. And I said, one, I want to be on a record. Okay, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a great record? No, but my name's on vinyl, actual vinyl. I'm going to move out of scene because I have it on the shelf here somewhere. If I can find it quick, it's absolutely hilarious. Is it in this? Oh my God. Yeah, there it is. It's in my memory pack.
Oh, cool.
So this was Chris, and this was my first 45.
Oh my goodness, that looks so great. That looks wonderful. Oh my goodness, that is great.
That was done in, and it's going to date me badly, and I'm trying to look for the copyright
don't
date.
worry, I'm dated close to that too.
I think it was Area Strikers. I'm trying to find the date. It was I think it was 83 or 84.
Okay.
I'm going to try to find it if my eyes can focus in the dark on this, but it was in the mid-80s to early 80s. And so we did it. So I said, okay, I've done that.
Good.
I always wanted to perform live, but that wasn't, I did that, and that wasn't the big aspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And so it got on vinyl, wanted to learn how to sing. I'll do all these things. And my biggest aspiration, and I said to myself, what I want to learn to do is write a song and perform a song that is genuinely and honestly in my heart as good as the artist I've looked up to, my influences.
That's definitely a good thing to talk about. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Haven't done it yet.
Aww.
I keep thinking I'm getting closer, but I don't think I'm there.
Okay.
But the minute you think you've arrived, you stop trying. So.
And no one ever thinks they're good enough. Everyone, even if they may say, oh yeah, I'm the best, they're looking at what they do critically. That's natural.
You have to. You cannot get better, but there's a balance. You can't be so critical that you destroy yourself, and you can't be so drunk on your own Kool-Aid that you aren't getting good.
Right. You have to keep moving. Uh-huh.
And so I think, and I'd say to you, since the journey of that band breaking up, the big journey for me musically is I found my own style,
good,
my own sound. It continues to evolve.
Uh-huh.
It continues to become actually more me as my toolkit gets bigger, both in equipment and in skill. So I don't say less. And another thing I learned in the music industry from two different people I had occasional interaction with, one in London and one in Toronto. And the one in London said to me something really poignant. It stuck out. And if anybody listens to this and isn't bored with me rambling on, he said to me, this guy, Dave, he was an on-air personality in London, and he did work with The Clash and some other people producing. And my cousin knew him in London. I have family in England. So he was, friends with my cousin. It wasn't because of my musical talent alone. And I would send this guy tapes every 6 months, the last couple songs I did. And then I'd get on a phone call with him with no internet phone. So it's cost me a pretty penny. And I would just get his opinions and his critique. And he said to me one day, he said, I got to tell you, you send me tapes and you have a certain level of talent. It's undeniable. But in every different song, I can tell who you're influenced by.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to sound like you're mimicking.
One day, yeah, not quite, but he could tell. I know he was a pro in the industry. And he said to me, what you have to do is you have to find your own style.
Yes.
Your own sound. And he said, until you do, it won't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
Because if you want to sound like U2, U2's already sounding like U2, and guess what? They're better at it than you are, at being them. And he said, you have to find that sound, and then people may or may not like it.
Okay.
But you have to do that. Yeah. And whether they like it or not, that you can't control, but find who you are. And he said that, and, I didn't love it I didn't dislike it, but,
it hurts.
It set my mind thinking. And I'd say ever since then, and if I could ever speak to him, I'd credit him and say, you know, you really told me one of the wisest things I've ever heard musically.
Mm-hmm.
And the other great anecdote was from the A&R director of Warner's in Toronto for Canada,
Mm-hmm.
who liked me enough to entertain listening to my tapes and having me over to his place once in a while if I was in Toronto and chat, but not enough to put, you know, my name in ink on a contract. But I still was always appreciative of Roger.
Yeah.
And he said to me one time too, because he knew John and I met him through John, the drummer in the studio band. And he said to me, he said, you know, we'd always worry, this doesn't sound great, that doesn't sound great. We're waiting for a better sound. I want this to sound better than that. And Roger said, you know, I've worked with artists. He had gold records on his wall from anybody you could name in the 80s. That was huge. And he said, I've done all these gold records, and you know what? I don't need an artist to come to me with a fully produced record. I know what a producer, session musicians, and arrangers can do. If you come to me and it's a Walkman, a broken down Walkman, and you're banging it out on a guitar with just a voice, I'll know if it's a good song and if you have talent.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm.
And it was really also, so although, yes, I like producing and getting better with each song and each edition of equipment and learning to use it, but a well-written song is a well-written song, period.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not dependent on technology. It's dependent on the writer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you mentioned, Lola, in your pre-brief
Yeah.
to me that, you know, you listened to Please. Yeah. Well, that was the second song I wrote in my Cosmic Crash iteration.
Okay, cool.
Because I had a previous iteration at home,
Mm-hmm.
then I had kids, and I sort of took a break from doing anything too much. Then I bought an electric guitar, so I'm going to learn how to play electric guitar.
And
That's
see, I
not just
love
campfire
that.
chords.
Yeah, I love electric guitar.
And now, I will tell you, Please is a really well-written song, but it's
Uh-huh.
very poorly executed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But at the moment, and when I wrote it, I was very proud because it was the best I had done yet. And I always want to think that the song I'm working on right now
Mm-hmm.
is the best song I've ever done.
Yeah. You always want to keep moving up. Mm-hmm.
And that's what drives me. So I think, you know, so when you ask the evolution of music and my influences, well, yes, I loved U2 in the early 80s, deplore them now, not because of music, but personality. Can't stand it.
Yeah.
I love Neil Young. I like Tom Petty. I loved Pink Floyd. I liked Alice Cooper. You know, I liked a lot of bluesy artists. I liked Stevie Ray Vaughan was great. I didn't like his Canadian nemesis, which was Frank Marino, because Frank didn't like me and the band I was in because we were competition to them at the time.
Oh.
They hated us.
Oh.
We were not known, but we were actually better.
Wow. Okay.
You know, I was just the bass player then. And it was the guitar player who was actually better. And, you know, so I like so many styles of music. I'll tell you, I don't like rap.
Yeah.
I don't like hip hop.
Okay.
Some of it is okay. Some of it is just horrible because it's lyrically dead and there's no melody. But some of it is performed well. But if I had to generalize, but if I take that and really raunchy, overdone heavy metal out of the equation, I like everything. I like classical music is beautiful.
Yeah.
I like jazz. So what are we influenced by? We're influenced by everything we see, do, and hear throughout our life.
That's true.
I don't think I've sat down and said, geez, you know, I want to be like.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I don't want to be like me. I'd rather be Green Day.
I think a lot of people would. People would like their career for sure.
Not the career, not the money. I'm talking musically, right?
Okay.
I'd rather be Green Day.
Okay.
I love the Eagles. As a kid, the Eagles in high school is one of my favorite bands, them and Alice Cooper. And that's pretty divergent, right?
Yeah.
So I've always respected the Rolling Stones and liked what they do. I like the Beatles. I preferred the Stones. I liked a little more edge. So I don't think that I have one influence that has brought me to where I am. I think you
Okay.
can listen to any genre and any artist and take away, wow, they really do that well.
Mm-hmm.
I've realized for me, and we all have our blessings and our weaknesses musically.
Yeah.
And if you listen, so I realized my range is not my forte. But what I've done and worked on is the tonality of my voice.
Very strong voice. I noticed that.
Yeah, and very, and the artists I love for a strong sounding, rich voice, Echo and the Bunnymen. Ian McCullough, you've got a voice that I would kill you for.
Love his voice. That may be more because I was saying I heard like a little bit of Gene Love's Jezebel with the fuzzy type guitars, and you could say Echo and the Bunnymen too because I love that. I love that kind of reverb type thing.
Or early stuff was more Pet Shop Boy,
Yeah.
but it wasn't on purpose. It
no.
was. I mean, my iteration previously, I didn't play guitar, so everybody used Depeche Mode comparisons. But I didn't mind Depeche Mode, but I wasn't in love with them.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I like I wouldn't say my style is my own favorite, but it is what comes out of me.
Yeah.
And I'm at peace with that, and it's good. And all I want to do is get better at it.
Right.
So Lola, since and now you sort of get since the mid 90s and certainly the turn of the century, I've learned to do drum work. I could always play bass. I've learned to do my guitar work. I do my own keyboard work and all my vocals. So what you hear in everything Cosmic Crash is only me.
Wow. So you record, I guess, one layer and then put it on top of the other. Wow. Is that hard to do? It seems like it'd be hard. Is that hard to do?
No.
No? Okay.
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's not because I've been studio familiar for 35 years.
Yeah.
Right? So I know how to operate. I'm always learning. To this day, I learn. I ask advice of people who know more than me. I try one new trick. I come to an obstacle. I ask, within my network, how do you do this better? So I'm always learning, which I got to say the production has become as much fun as the music, learning to record it and mix it and do all of those things right. But the beauty of great production isn't that you have more effects and more this and more. It's actually that you can do more with less instruments, with less effects, because the tonal quality is better.
Okay.
I just upgraded in my studio to top high-end, no holes barred converters. And it was one of the last things I wanted to equip myself with. And I have to say that I don't have to do much fiddling with EQ and anything. Everything sounds great. Where I used to use 5 or 6 vocal tracks to do smooth backgrounds, dissonant backgrounds, I can do it in 1 or 2 now.
Wow.
My vocal tracks don't need underlays and a lot of artists do a lot of multi-layered tracks when they sing. And depending on some songs I will and will continue to, but on the latest one I'm working on and just about finished, it didn't need it because it's a song about isolation and loneliness. I don't know where that came from. Even though I'm actually not, it suited one voice alone. It didn't suit, more that fuller spectrum of vocal tonalities. And the sound difference, what it allows you to do more with less. So the quest is always, how can I do more with less instruments?
Okay.
And I've always written a song and recorded in the mind that this has to be playable by a band live with, 5 pieces.
That's another question.
You can't do it live, because it's so much trickery. Even when I do the drums, I don't play the physical drums, but I program into my sampler so it sounds very real.
Okay.
I always know you only got 2 hands and 2 feet. So I can't hit a tom, a snare, and a cymbal at once. That's physically impossible.
Right.
So I won't do it because it can't be done.
You have to be able to replicate it live.
Yeah, I won't do what takes 5 guitar tracks to make a guitar sound.
Yeah.
Because would I ever do that live?
Possible.
So, so that's musically what I like to do, sort of my influences, and my joy is just creating.
Okay.
I'm amazed you went back and looked through all the anthology, and I think it's around 50 songs. I don't even know. I didn't count.
A lot. Well,
But
you
that's
don't
since
want
2011.
yeah.
So, I've been building since then. But
Yeah.
I would say the latest, and I just today posted the last year on Reverb Nation
Okay.
because I hadn't put 5/6. You asked in your quick questionnaire if I'd ever done an album,
Yeah.
and not as Cosmic Crash.
Okay.
No. And I don't really care. Because once I sort of look at it this way, it's my song. It's all for me.
Yeah.
It's all for my pleasure of creating. I don't mean in a selfish way. It's the joy of the creating and the obstacles and the mystery of what it will become.
Yeah.
And when I finish it, I post it, and then I'm on to the next. I never really listen to them again very often.
Uh-huh.
Because that's not where I derive my joy.
Okay.
I'm happy to see people who listen. I get some plays on the occasional internet radio station. Probably once a week somewhere someone is playing one of my songs. That's one, and I so appreciate that.
Yeah.
But it's not what I do it for. I've said that a lot of times now. I can back off of that one. But I do really, really, really love creating more than performing.
Uh-huh.
And I used to like performing more than creating, but now I love writing and executing and seeing how good can I get at doing all of these things.
Mm-hmm.